So, this video blew up. When I scripted the video, it was mostly about YBA, but I intended it to be watched by anyone in the Roblox fighting game community. Oops, did I call it a community? Because no, it's not a community. The phrase cesspit is much more accurate. I mean, if you saw a barrel of crabs, all of them clawing at each other's legs, making sure that if they can't escape, no one can, would you refer to that as a community? Anyway, this video is intended to be more directly about YBA, its mechanics, and the people who play it, because seemingly everything about this game was tailor-made to make its community as toxic as possible. Seriously, it's amazing, because there are other JoJo games out there. World of Stands, for instance, actually has a mechanic that encourages you to go out and kill random people for no reason in exchange for the potential to get rare skins, and it still isn't as toxic as YBA. Where to begin? Well, it only makes sense to start with the game itself. YBA is a Roblox fighting game where, of course, there are no restrictions on who you are allowed to attack. The main game is just a big open area where players can interact with each other and with the NPCs and enemies. Now, in any big AAA game, there would be restrictions on who you can interact with and when. And by interact with, I mean beat up, bully, massacre. Let's use Smash as an example, since I think everyone has played it at least once in their lives, I don't know. You want to know how you engage in PvP in that game? Go to the online mode, go to quick play, and you get matched up with a random dude. And if you win, you win. If you lose, you lose. If both players rematch, then you can rematch him. But if at least one player chooses not to, then that's it. You have zero direct methods of rematching this guy, other than running into him again by chance. But in YBA, if a guy kills you in main game, you can rematch him as much as you want as long as he doesn't leave the server, and even if he does, you know his username. And if he has joins on, you can follow him anywhere he goes. You know who else can follow him anywhere he goes? His friends. Because in Roblox, people on your friends list will automatically be put in the same server as you. So the average YBA player will have at least one friend online with them at any given time. It's also important to remember that Roblox is mostly populated by children. Not that there's anything wrong with children, competitive hormonal, puberty-stricken children with too much time on their hands. So let me ask you this. What do you think happens when you take a bunch of competitive children with too much time on their hands and plenty of friends they can call for backup and throw them into this world of stands where there are no rules on who they can and can't beat up? That's right, complete chaos. This is not an irregular sight. Actually, if you stay in a server all day and this doesn't eventually happen, I'd say it's been a bizarre day. But fraud, you say? YBA has a 1v1s mode where you can take on randos in a fair and square matchup. And, shut up, let's talk about the PvP. You know, a lot of people complain about the balance in YBA. They say it's beyond repair, but I beg to differ. You want to know how to balance the game perfectly right now? Just give the player a health bar that is 3 times bigger. Because the problem isn't that it's unbalanced. In fact, it's perfectly balanced, because everything is equally overpowered. Even Mr. President, the most laughably useless stand in the game, has a near one-shot combo. You know that one Incredibles quote?
And when everyone's super, no one will be.
Yeah, that describes this game perfectly. Oh god, YBA is the alternate universe where Syndrome wins. But what does it mean for YBA that everything is so laughably overpowered? Well, it means that no matter how definitively you pummel someone, there is always a cope. 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 What is cope? Well, I'll explain. When a family loses a beloved pet, they will often tell themselves that he or she is in a better place now. This is a popular coping mechanism, and in this example, it's to dull the pain of losing someone important to you. Knowing that they may live on somewhere where they can be happy is a good way to ease the heartache. When people are depressed, they often develop eating habits because the satisfaction of a good meal allows you to focus on something else, something good. Again, it eases the pain and makes things seem not so bad. Coping mechanisms are things that we use to convince ourselves that things aren't quite as bad as they seem. And when someone loses a 1v1 in YBA, or any game for that matter, but especially in YBA for this particular video, the number one coping mechanism of all time is to suggest that the opposition is using something that is extremely easy to win with. It allows them to disappear into this fantasy world where the only reason they lost is because you are cheating. You aren't good, you're just using a classic overpowered strategy. When someone says to you, "Bro is using Seamoon Spin and he thinks he's good," they are strongly implying without saying that you are not only naive, but that you're also unskilled. It also subtly implies that you're new around here and don't get how things work. Hey everyone, get a load of this guy. He thinks he's good. Let's play a game. Take a revolving boom device. Put a bullet in the chamber. Put it to your head and sit in a YBA lobby. Every time you see someone complaining about a build, pull the trigger. You will be dead within minutes. This isn't an exaggeration, this happens constantly. And it's not even that they're wrong. I mean, Seamoon Spin is extremely overpowered. So is Star Platinum the World Pluck, and White Album Vampire, and Twao Boxing, and the World Over Heaven Spin, and Tusk Act 4 Pluck, and SCR Love Train Hamon, and KCR Bam, and Sex Pistols, and Hermit Purple Hamon, and Red Hot Chili Peppers Hamon, and Golden Experience Record, and Beach Boy just kinda sucks. But then there's Twao Vamp and SCR Boxing, and no one will ever end up a victim of this garbage and then say GG after. But that's not even the worst part. You want to know the worst part? The thing that truly makes this game the radioactive toilet bowl that it is? The gangs. So, in YBA, there's a mechanic that lets you make a gang. If it even decides to work that day, anyway. And honestly, this mechanic all by itself does nothing. When I say the gangs, what I mean is the insanely toxic groups of terminally online children that band together to obliterate you because you said mean things. And it goes so much farther than that. Most gangs have a headquarters in the form of a Discord server wherein, if you just so happen to beat up any of their members, they can send out a ping to every member in that gang at once, and all of a sudden, you are swarmed by 15 people. But let's say you're dealing with a truly scummy individual. Oh, I've met a few. Let me introduce you to this piece of work. Normally, if I was going to go out of my way to point someone specific out, I'd probably censor their name, but the hell with it. This guy was one of our allies at one point. Then he got his ass beat by one of our better members, and what does he do? He calls off the ally ship, and for some reason, months later, I honestly don't know why, it's kind of out of nowhere, he attempts to nuke our server. In other words, he tried to see if anyone from his gang still had moderator in hours, so he could install a bot that would render the entire server completely unusable. Like, really? Over a video game? He was that mad? I'm not completely innocent either, okay? I get a little toxic sometimes, you know, easy in chat and all that, but it's hardly the same thing. Anyway, I'm kind of worn out from talking about YBA. I think it's giving me cancer, so I'm gonna go get started on my chemotherapy. What, are you waiting for my permission to leave? Get out of here. Video's over. Oh, before you do, if you could, like, I don't know, maybe leave me a like. Helps grow my channel. Or don't. I don't care. It's not that big a deal to me. You guys see what happened to AUT?